Before we talk about this problem in detail, let's just take a step back and think about how you would approach it in general terms. Suppose we were asked, what's the square root of 10,000? Suppose that were the question. What would you do? You'd say, okay, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros in here. With 4 zeros, the square root of that is going to be a 1, followed not by 4 zeros, but by half of that, by only 2 zeros. The square root of 10,000 is 100. And we can double check, so 100 times 100, 100 squared, 100 times 100 is going to be 1 with 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. It's going to be 10,000. If you had a simple number like that, 10,000, then we could fairly easily figure out what are some simple numbers we can multiply together to get to, in this case, 10,000. Now, why do I bring that up? Because let's look at this particular problem. You look at this number, it's long, it has lots of digits that are very different from each other. If you look at a number like this and step back and ask, well, what can I multiply together to get to 576,800? I mean, what, 5,768 times 100? Well, we can find the square root of 100, but the square root of 5,768, right away, you know you're going in the wrong direction. There must be a quicker way to do this. So let's back up. I'll erase this. Oftentimes, the quickest way to answer a question is to pick numbers, and sometimes that means picking numbers from the answer choices. The question is, what choice do you start with? Here's a very good strategy. Start with either B or D, and you're about to see why. This number we have here, the square root of 576,800, that is the same as something times itself equals 576,800. In other words, something squared, maybe I'll write it up here, something, if you square it, is going to lead to that number. Well, let's look at the answer choices. We'll start with answer B. See if it's in the ballpark. If it's too high, then we know the answer is A. If it's too low, then we'll go to D. So here's what I mean. 400 to 500. I'll give myself lots of room here. 400 to 500. If we were to square those numbers, is the number we're interested in between the square of those numbers. Well, let's see, 400 squared. Well, 4 squared is 16, followed by 2 zeros. So if I square this, I'm going to have a 16 followed by not 2 zeros, but twice that amount, 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 400 squared, 160,000. 500 squared. Well, let's see, 5 squared is 25, followed by 2 zeros, which means if you square 500, you're going to have 25 followed by not 2 zeros, but 4 zeros, 250,000. Is 576,800 in between those two? No. So we can cross out B. We can also cross out A. Now we'll try D. And here's the thing. If D is the right answer, then D is the right answer. If it's too high, we know the answer is C. If it's too low, we know the answer is E. So we're only going to have to try, at most, 2 choices, B and D. All right, so we'll try D. Let's see, 600, 700. And I didn't put the squares in there. 600 squared to 700 squared. What are the results if we do that? 6 squared is 36. 2 zeros. So now we're going to write 36 followed by not 2 but 4 zeros. 360,000. Okay, 7 squared, 49. Followed by 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 490,000. The number we want, is that in between 360 and 490? No, answer D, the numbers are too low. D is out, boom, answer E. Answer E. So that is the most efficient way to tackle this problem. First, because 576,800 is such a long and complicated number, we know we're not going to try to figure out what its factors are. Second, given that, let's just look at the answer choices, see if B works. If it doesn't, see if D works, and we'll know the answer. Hope that made sense. If you'd like to watch more explanations for math problems in practice tests 1 and 2, visit our YouTube channel. On the home page, click on the column in the middle that says Playlists. You'll see explanations of lots of problems from the first 2 practice tests on MBA.com and going forward from the GMAT Official Guide 2020, 2021, and beyond. If you like that explanation, hope you'll give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends who are taking the GMAT, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next video.